Good evening. Today's Chumash is, we're holding Parshas Vayera. We're holding the third portion. It's in Bereshis, Perek Yutes, Pasuk Aleph. I want to dedicate this shir to a very dear friend of mine, a dear friend of many in the Christian community and abroad, a man who didn't know what the word no means, a person whose life and mission was dedicated to do chesed. In addition to being the coordinator and one of the heads of Shmira Patrol here in Crown Heights, he also founded Vayera, and he was a dear member of our shul here, where the shirim are given kept, in Beis Gimbal Chaim. He, the last year, of course, he passed away this morning, but the last year he told me when we started the shiurim, especially when we started Masechta Seita, it was very, very important for him to come to the shiurim after a long day of work. Sometimes he would travel to Connecticut where his real estate was, and he would come very tired, or he'd be up the night before helping somebody that needed help with either Vayera or Shmira. And it was very important for him to come to the shiurim over here. He'd bring his son, and he wanted to be a dugma chaya to show that even if you're a working individual, it's important that you learn as well. It's still shocking that I'm saying this, but I want to dedicate this shir for him. Yehuda Leyb ben Yibadel Chaim Tevim Ytzchak. This is Leib's Kabbalah Olav Hashalom. And I just want to give encouragement and we should take his inspiration of first how much chesed he did, and remember that what life is all about. And most importantly, in the shiurim, I want to dedicate the shir and the next shiurim for him. And you should have a lichtige Gan Eden. And let's take that inspiration. And he wasn't somebody that he would call himself somebody who learned all day. He wouldn't call himself a Talmud Chacham, but for him learning, especially at night, he would come to the shiurim. It was very meaningful to him, and he was very proud that he finished certain Masechtas, and he came to this shiurim. And so let's use this time to take lessons from him and to imbue that into our life, and we should be zeicha v'kitzav rana sheikh ne'afer very, very, very soon. And with Leib, be the lion that you are, be the shimshon that you are, always fighting for the truth, always standing up for the truth, and clap of the tear. And betzich, you should bet that Mashiach should come right away, and don't take no as you never take no for an answer. We should be zeicha together with Mashiach Tzidkenu. Okay, so let's begin the shir. Again, this is Perek Yutes, Pasuk Aleph. The Pasuk says, "Vayavo shnei malachim steimen ba'erev," and two angels came to Sodom in the evening. V'leit yeshiv b'shar Sodom, and light was sitting in the gate of Sodom. Vayar light v'yakum nekrosam, and light arose towards them. Vayishtachu apayim arza, and he bowed down to himself. He bowed himself on the face of the ground. Now Rashi says two malachim came. Why did two malachim come? Rashi says echad lahashas Sodom ve'echad lahatzlas light. One to destroy Sodom, and one to rescue light. It was the same malach who came to heal Avram. And the third malach who came to tell Sarah that she's having a child, once he did a shlichus nestalik lay, his mission was completed, and therefore he was no longer needed there. Ha malachim, it says angels, ulahalan kram anashim. Elsewhere, it's called malachim. So is it malachim or anashim? So Rashi says, Kishayisa shchina imahim kram anashim. When the shchina was with him, it was called. It calls them men. Another explanation is a connection with Avram, whose power was great, and the angels were as frequently as him, as men, so it was called men. It's a light, Kram Malachim, but with light, since he wasn't frequent, he didn't recognize malachim, so it's called malachim. But Erev, it says that the malachim came in evening. So Rashi asks, V'chi kol kach shahaya malachim mechaven l'steim. Does it take so long? Why did the angels tarry so long to go from Chevron to Sedem? They were angels of mercy. And umamtinim shamayuchal Avram l'lamed aleim sanigera, and they were waiting perhaps Avram would succeed in the defense of the cities. And Leit was sitting at the gate of Sedem. Rashi says the word Yoishev is written without a vav. So since it's written without a vav, you can read it as Yashav, sitting. Which teaches us that on that very day they appointed Leit to be a judge over them. Vayera Leit, and Leit saw mi base Avram lamad. From Avram's house he learned lachstra la'archim, to look after guests. Pasuk base. Vayemer hinina Adonai surino el beis avadchem v'linu v'rachtu raglechem. And he said, behold, now, my lords, please turn to your servant's house and stay overnight and wash your feet. V'yishkamtem v'alachtem l'darkechem, and you shall rise early and go on your way. Vayemru loy, and they said, no. Ki b'rochem nolin, we want to stay overnight in the street. Rashi says, hinina Adonai hinina atem adonim li'acher shavartem alai. Behold, you are now lords to me, since you have passed beside me. Another explanation is another explanation is, behold, now you must pay attention to these wicked men, that they should not recognize you, and this is good advice. Suri, no, what does it mean? Please turn. You should take like a roundabout path, in order that they should not recognize that you are entering in my house. That's where it says turn. And stay overnight and wash your feet. Is a customary for a person, for a guest, when he stays overnight, that he first stays overnight and then takes a shower, and then he bathes himself, then he washes himself. Another thing, by Avram he told him first wash and then stay overnight. This is what Leit said. He says, Leit said, if when the people of Sedem come, they will see that they have already washed their feet, that you have already washed your feet, so they're going to falsely accuse me and say that they were here for 2 or 3 days, and they didn't let us know. So therefore Leit said, therefore he said that they should appear as though they had just arrived. Therefore he said, therefore he said, stay overnight first and afterwards wash, so it should seem that they just arrived now. And they said no. Now to Avram they said, when Avram said what you should do, they said, so shall you do. So from here we learn that a person refuses an offer of a person of lesser importance, but when it comes to a great man, one should not refuse what he asks. And he will stay overnight in the street. The Hebrew word ki is used to mean but. They said, we will not turn into your house, but we will stay overnight in the street of the city. Pasuk Gimel. And he urged them strongly. And they turned into him. And they came into his house. He made for them a great feast. And he baked matzahs for them, and they ate it. Rashi says, and they turned to him. They took a roundabout path towards his house. Matzahs alpha. Rashi says Pesach was on Pesach. Pasuk Dal Terem Yishkavu, before they even laid down. And the people of the city, the people of Sedem, surrounded the house. Minar Vazakin, from young and old, the entire people from the end of the city. Rashi says, this is how it's expounded, interpreted in Bereshis Rabbah. When they had not yet retired, the people of the city were the topic of a conversation. They would ask, the Malachim asked Leit, what is the nature, what is the character of these people? And he said, most of them are wicked people. So the pasuk says, while he was talking about them, the people of Sodom came. A simple explanation is, the people of the city were people of wickedness. They surrounded the house. Because they were wicked, they are called people of Sodom. As it says, and the people of Sodom were very evil and sinful. An entire populace from all ends, which means from one end of the city to the other, which means none of them protested. Which teaches us that they didn't even have one righteous person to stand up to them. Very much for what's happening now. You see how people don't stand up for the truth, for the emes. So Rashi, and they called late and they said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them to us, and let us be intimate with them. Rashi says, what does that mean? B'mishkav zachar, with homosexuality. As the pasuk says, who were not intimate with a man. And Lot came to the entrance and he shut the door behind them. And he said, my brethren, do not do evil. Behold, now I have two daughters who were not intimate with a man. I will bring them out to you. And do to them as you see fit. Only of these men do nothing. Because they have come under the shadow of my roof. Rashi says, like which means, do me a favor in my honor, because they have come into the shade of my roof. Okay. Pasuk test. Vayimru gesh halav vayimru echad balog ravish b'shefet ata nara l'chamehem v'yiftzuru b'ish b'leit made v'yishul ish b'rasadelas. But they said, back away, and they said, this one came to live and he is judging. Now we will deal even worse with you than with them. And they pressed hard upon the man late, and they drew near to break the door. So Rashi brings a raya now. Gesh hala means krav lahala, get yourself away from their kalemer. As it says, draw near to the sides and distance yourself from there. Whenever it says hala, it means distancing. Rashi brings different rayas in the psukim, like it says, scatter away. Behold, the arrows are beyond you. Gesh hala, back away. Himashich lahalan, b'lashin alat. This is like a expression of rebuke, which means we don't care about you. We see a similar expression, keep to yourself, do not come near. Which means draw aside, stay away, and I will dwell beside. Draw aside for my sake, so that I will dwell besides you. Now, so what were the people from Sodom saying? You intercede for the guests. How dare you? In response to what you say about your daughters, so they say in an expression of like calm. So they said, when he started defending his guests, what did he say? This one comes to live with us. You are only strangers amongst us, for you have come to live here. And he's judging, meaning you have become a chastiser. This is the door which swings and locks to open. And the men stretched forth their hands. And they brought late to them to the house. And they shut the door, which means the malachim. And the men who were at the entrance of the house, they struck with blindness, both small and great, and they toiled in vain to find the entrance. This is the space through which they enter and exit. This is a plague of blindness. Small and great. The young ones started to sin first. Like it says, that's why the punishment began with them. Pasuk Yud Beis, and the men sent to Leit. Who else is here? A son-in-law, your sons and your daughters. And whoever you have in the city, take out of the place. The simple explanation is, whom else do you have in the city besides your wife and your daughters who are at home? If you have a son-in-law or your sons or your daughters, take them out of the place. And your sons, which means the sons of your married daughters. And according to the Medrash, after you committed such a disgraceful deed, who do you still have after they have committed such a disgraceful deed, you still have an excuse to defend them, because Leit was speaking in their favor the entire night. So you read, do you still have a mouth? For we are destroying this place, this place. Because the cry has become great before Hashem. And Hashem has sent us to destroy it. And Leit went forth and spoke to his sons-in-law and the suitors of his daughters. And he said, get up, go forth to this place. For Hashem is going to destroy the city. And he seemed like a comedian in the eyes of his sons-in-law. So Rashi, he had two married daughters in the city. To whom those in the house were mikudeshes. Pasuk Tezvav, Kumaya Shachar Allah, and the dawn rose. And the angels pressed Leit, saying, get up, take your wife and your daughters, whom you are, lest you perish because of the sin of the city. Which means, and they press, meaning they rushed him. Who are ready at hand in the house for you to save them. There's also a midrashic explanation, but this is the proper way to explain the pasuk. Tisafa, perish, tia kala, which means you will be destroyed. Ad taim kaladir, until all the generation expires. Miturguman, ad the saf kaldara, as the Targum says, until the entire generation perish. Pasuk tezayim ve'isma'ama ve'yachzik anashim b'yadei v'yad ishtay. But they delayed, they tarried, and the men took hold of his hands and his wife's hands, in the hands of his two daughters, Hashem, out of Hashem's pity for him, and they took him out and placed him outside the city. Why did he tarry? In order to save his possessions. And he took hold. So one of them was a shliach to save him, and his companion was to overturn Sodom. That's what it says. And he said, flee. It doesn't say Lashon Rab. And it came to pass when they took him outside, and he said, flee for your life. Do not look behind you. And do not stand in the entire plain. Flee to the mountain lest you perish. The fashis, it's enough that you save yourself. Do not worry about your possessions. Do not look behind you. You dealt wickedly together with them, but in Avram's merit you are saved. You do not deserve to see their punishments while you are being saved. In the plain of the Yarden. Flee to the mountain. Flee to Avram, who lives by the mountain. Like it says, and he moved there there to the mountain. And even now he was dwelling there. And as it says, until the place where his tent had previously been seen. Although it says, and Avram pitched his tent, He had many tents, and they extended it till Hebron. Rashi, Himalit Lashon Hashmata, an expression of slipping away. And so to every instance of Amlata in the Pasuk. As it says, to escape, slip away. Which means that the uber, escapes away, she delivered a male child, meaning that it was released from the womb. As it says, escape like a bird. The Pasuk says they could not deliver to burden. To release the burden of the excrement of their orifices, in their orifices. Pasuk Yud Ches Ve'im relate Aleim Al No Adonai, and they said to them, please do not, O Lord. So Rashi Al No Adonai Rabbi Shloimy Amro Sheshem Zeh Kodesh. The Chachamim say this is referring to Hashem's name. Shemar Bei Lahachis is Nafshe, because it's stated to sustain my soul. Mishish B'Yodei Lahamis Lahachis, referring to the person who has the power to cause to die and to cause to live. With Targum B'Boi Ka'an Hashem, and the Targum says, please now, my Hashem. Al No Al Temru Elai Limolat Ha'or, do not tell me to flee to the mountain. No Lashon Bakasha. This is an expression of request. Pasuk Chitas, Hini na matzah avdecha chem be'einacha. Behold, now your servant has found favor in your eyes. Atagdil chazdecha, and you have increased your kindness. Asher sisi madi, which you have done with me. Lahachis es nafshi, to sustain my soul. But I cannot flee to the mountain. Pentit bokani hara v'amati, lest the evil overtake me and I die. Zograshi pentit bokani hara. When I was amongst the people of Sodom, Hashem saw my deeds and the deeds of the people of the city, and so I looked like a tzaddik, and I was worthy of being saved. But when I come to Avram, a tzaddik, I'm like a rasha. Rashi says that. Sorry. V'chein Amra ha'tzrofis lelio basi elai lahasker saveni, and so to the woman say to Elio, have you come to me to cause my sins to be remembered? Ashle basi itzla Hakadosh Baruch Hu reya maiso maise ami. So before you came to me, Hashem would see the deeds and the deeds of my people, and bani tzadekes beinim, and I was considered a righteous person. Shabasi etzli, but now that I've come to me, lefi maisecha ni rasha. But since you have come to me, so I am compared to your deeds, I am wicked. So that's what Leit said to the Malachim. Pasuk 2 minutes. And behold, now the city is near to flee there, and v'himitzar is very small. Imoltu no shama, let me please flee there. Halimitzar he is not small. Schinavshi, and my soul will survive. Zograshi kreva shivasa, its settlement is near. The siafsha mikarav, meaning that it was recently settled. The fikach loy nismala sosa adayin. That's why Hashem's anger did not fill up. Mahi kribasei. Now, what does it mean? Kribasei. Mider haflogish nisbag anoshim v'schilu yashav ishish v'mkemei v'yesib b'shnas meis peleg u'misham v'atkan and beis shana shepeleg meis b'shnas memches lavram, which means that this we're talking about from the generation of the dispersion. When the people started to disperse and they started to settle, each one in his place, and they took place in the years of Peleg's death, and from them until now there was 52 years. From Peleg died when Avram was 48 years old. How so? Peleg chay achrei helidus reish tes shana. Say mehem lamed beis krishnei l'surug u'misrug ad shnei l'nocher lamed hari samach beis u'minocher ad shnei l'terech of tes hari tzadik alaf u'misham ad shnei l'avram ayin hari kuf samach alaf ten lehem memches hari reish tes v'yis shana v'yis shnas afloga. So Rashi explains, very simple. Rashi says that Peleg lived after he had 209 years. Subtract from them 32 years when Surug was born, and 30 years from the birth of Surug until Nachor was born, you have 62 years. And from the birth of Nachor until Terach was born was 29 years, totaling 91 years. And from then until Avram was born were 71 years, totaling how much? 161 years. And 48 years to them, and add 48 years to them. And the total is 209 years, and this was the years of the Haflaga. But Sayar, now, from the generation of the dispersion until the 52 years, the settlement of Tzara took place after the settlement of Sodom, and it's accompanied by 1 year. This is the meaning of No, flee there. No has the gematria 51. Halei mitzari is a not small, and not is the sins not few. Therefore, you can leave it alone. Schinafshi and my soul will survive, ba in it. So Rashi, this is the medrash. According to the simple explanation, it's a small city with a small population. You should not care if you spare it, and my soul survives therein.